guys. This is Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor, and this is Breaking Through Addiction every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. But today, we're going live on Facebook for a change. So if you visited on Facebook, guys, great to see you. I think a couple of you joined already. As usual, my beautiful Jennifer Lovely's with me.
Good morning, everyone.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you? I'm much better today than I was yesterday.
Yes, I believe it wasn't a good day yesterday.
Yeah, a little under the weather, but feeling much better.
I had a crazy day yesterday, and I have a crazy day. I'm on CW33 today, which is a huge channel in Texas. So I'll be doing that today and plug in what we do, of course.
Of course.
Living recovery coaching, and then I'll probably finish about 2 o'clock. So I'm done for the day. So which is good. I like that. I really like that. So listen, we need to tell you something before I start, and it's about our friend Living Recovery Interventions. Recovery begins today. Recovery brings together. Give the gift of recovery. Travis. Now, we both know Travis. He's an amazing guy. You know, he knows what he's talking about. You know, from Xanax seizure to a car crash at 120 miles an hour. This guy is amazing how he's come through. If a loved one is in trouble, you need to call Travis, 801-573-4188 or livingrecoveryinterventions.com. Remember, guys, recovery begins today. Recovery begins together. 801-573-4188. If you want to be a sponsor on the show, we vet you first. You have to be the best of the best, to be honest with you. We're not taking anybody. So when you look at Living Recovery Interventions with Travis, you know that he's up there. He's one of the best. We love it to bits, don't we, Jen?
We love Travis. I saw recently that he just got some serious snow over there in Utah. So
yeah. Wow.
Hey, come forward. Your green screen. The green screen is killing you. There you go.
Do I look okay? When I do a side pose, I usually have a jail number or something on the side. You know, like a. Oh my! Hey, listen, we got Todd Sylvester on the show today. He's a personal mentor and development coach. What a great guy! I read something about him, and he's like one of us, you know, with the treatment center shit that's going on at the moment. Why is Johnny going in for his 5th time?
Right.
You've had some experience with this, haven't you, Jen, with your kids?
Yeah, just a little bit. 16 rehabs. My kid
16 rehabs. You know what? Shame on you, rehabs, if you're taking people 2nd or 3rd or 4th or 5th time in and still charging them. I get it. They relapse. Take them in for free. Where's your buy into this stuff? There isn't one. Fucking wasting the time. That's what you're doing, guys. And taking money off parents who really can't afford it, or they've been saving all life to retirement, and you take them in with no guarantee. Not like us, we give you a money back guarantee. We don't do the job, we'll give you your money back. Of course we do. That's what it's about. Okay. Guys, Todd Sylvester will be on the show in 20 seconds. Stick around, guys. Hey, good morning, guys. This is Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor, along with Jennifer Lovely. This is Breaking Through Addiction. It is Wednesday. It's an amazing day. And Todd Sylvester's in the house.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. Welcome to you guys as well. Thanks for having me on. And I'm so excited to be on this amazing show that you guys do.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, Todd, being on Breaking Through Addiction, and then how does that relate to what you actually do in the world? How are you breaking through addiction?
Yeah, well, I'm a recovered addict myself. I was an addict for almost 10 years, and I've been clean now for 31. Amazing. And I've dedicated my life for the last 31 years to helping other people. And I really believe that if you master the first 11 steps of AA, you'll drink again. If you master step 12, you'll never touch another drop. And so I've really taken that to heart. And I just feel like that's what I do is I go out and I help people, and it's really kind of keeps me in line and keeps me on the clean path.
Yeah.
Wow. I love the way he said recovered addict. Recovered. To gain one's health and state of mind back. There's a big thing about that in the rooms at the moment. Well, I'm never saying recovered, it's always recovering. What does the book say? Oh, well, I don't know. Well, read the fucking book. It says recovered 17 times in the first 164. It means, have you still got that common cold you're going on about? Well, what do you mean? Are you still recovering from that common cold? Well,
Right.
no, I've recovered from it. Are you still recovering from food poison that you had? No.
Yeah.
Same as alcoholism. We'll always be alcoholics and addicts, but we don't have to suffer from the disease, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
Tell me the worst thing that happened, Todd, during your illness.
When I was at the worst, probably the darkest place of my life, I had lost a full ride basketball scholarship that I had, it was my childhood dream. I worked on it I was one of those guys that I had this all or nothing mentality. I'd practice 2 or 3 hours a day. And as a little kid, my dream was college scholarship and to play in the NBA. And I would practice 2 or 3 hours every single day, starting in like 6th and 7th grade. And people thought I was nuts, man. It's like, geez, you do nothing else but play basketball. I go, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And anyway, I earned that college scholarship when I was honestly at one of the darkest places in my life, even before I got the scholarship. But then when I lost it, that's when I decided to kill myself. And that was probably it was at the time the worst time of my life.
That is so scary. So can you walk us back through, both Dr. Rob and I believe that there's always some form of trauma behind addiction. Do you feel like there was it an old belief system? What was the trauma that had you in that place?
That's a great question. And fortunately, I didn't have any sexual trauma in my past. I did have some physical trauma through being bullied by some kids. But really, if I look back on it now, it really was I was poisoning myself with an irrational belief system. When I was in 7th grade, I was in my room and I overheard my mom and her friends in the kitchen laughing on how skinny I was. I was a really skinny kid. I mean, I was like, but it didn't bother me. I knew I was skinny, but for some reason, when I heard them laughing, this belief system formed in my head like, oh, I guess I look funny. And from that point forward, I walked around insecure. If I heard someone laughing, I thought, well, they must be laughing at me. And, when I think of it as an adult, it's like, oh, no big deal. But, a 7th grade mindset, it crushed me. And that fed into a bunch of other belief systems that held me back. Ultimately, I wasn't good enough. I'm different, so I can't connect. And ultimately, there's something wrong with me.
Can you remember that first drink or drug, the very first time when everything changed for you? And what was it?
Yeah, I was 11 years old, and I had my first sip of hard liquor. And I didn't get drunk at 11 years old, but I fell in love with the rush of it. It was like, oh, I knew I was doing something I probably shouldn't be doing, but I was kind of like, felt this passion and desire towards doing it again. And so between the ages of 11 and 13, I would sip on, my dad had a wet bar in the basement, and I would, sneak sips of alcohol. But it wasn't until 13 when I went on a trip with one of my friends, and he pulled out a 1/4 ounce of marijuana, and him and I smoked it for the next 4 days. We polished off that entire bag, and I fell in love with that. And that's when I didn't realize it at the time, but that's when things just took off, unfortunately, in the addiction, roadway for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I have my own personal experience with my children and addiction. And it's always such an interesting perspective from this place and listening to people go through the addiction process. But my son he was like All-American, for football for Mater Dei, high school in Southern California,
right.
And wrestling, but lost it all, using meth. And so I'm curious, how did that affect your family as you started walking this path towards addiction, and how did it affect the entire family?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm sorry to hear about your son and what he went through. I grew up to where it was okay for me to drink as long as I didn't drive. And so I kind of had this green light. Like, as a kid, I'm thinking, hey, okay, I'm going to party. I'm going to live it up. And I've got a green light here. My parents had no idea, though, that I was doing anything outside of drinking occasionally on the weekends. They had no idea about the drug abuse. I hid that from them. And, my dad kind of lived through me through sports, and he really pushed me to obviously play basketball and get that scholarship. Really, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have got the scholarship. He really helped me so much. And so, but him and my mom seeing me depressed and down, especially my senior year, I was really depressed. I had suicidal thoughts, and they could tell something was wrong with me. They just would, constantly like, hey, do we need to get you some help? I went to a few therapists back then, just, and I didn't like them, and I didn't want to go back, and I fought them on every turn. And I just was in a rough place. And yeah, my family knew what was going on, but my family was also going through some difficult times. My mom at the time was in full-blown addiction. And so she was kind of dealing with her own thing. And so it's kind of like, even though we were a family, I felt a little separated from them through all this. And, even my closest friends could tell something was up with me, and not in a good way. And so, but again, I would always, I'm fine. Everything's great. I pushed it off. I didn't need any help. And so ultimately I kind of kept them at bay with, I'm okay. And with that mask that I would put on.
Yeah. That mask.
Do you think if alcohol and drugs wasn't part of your life, do you think you would have made it to the NBA?
I don't know if I had the body built for it, to be honest. I definitely would have probably thrived in with a 4-year scholarship in basketball in college. There's always that chance. I probably see myself more playing over in Europe.
Yeah.
I probably definitely could have done that. But, as a kid, man, you think you can do anything. Before you get caught up in these irrational beliefs, I thought, man, I'm playing in the NBA, man. Watch out. And I'm going to practice 2, 3 hours, 4 hours a day. I'll do whatever it takes.
Right.
And, but ultimately, I think, I probably would have maybe, played a little bit in Europe, maybe.
Nice.
Yeah. So can you walk us through, I looked on your website a little bit and I love that you are really distinguishing the belief systems from the thing that has us, that it's the thing that's holding us back. Right. And it's the loop that is constantly going in our head. In our head, we actually really, really like loops, but it actually is the thing that kind of screws us up as well, because it's like, you imagine watching a sitcom or something, and at the end of it, it leaves us in that cliffhanger place, right? And we're like, oh, we want more. Right. And a lot of us live our life in those loops, right? We leave little things open, unended, and it's the thing that kind of has us holding us back. So walk us through how you support people in distilling those belief systems and shifting them.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I really, one of the things I like to teach my clients is that belief dictates behavior 100% of the time. So the behavior was I was drinking and doing drugs. The belief that I had, it was sponsored by the belief of I'm not good enough. I'm different, so I can't connect. Something's ultimately wrong with me. And I think those are the 3 most common beliefs I hear from my clients is I'm just not good enough. I'm different, so I can't connect. And ultimately, there's something wrong with me. And so those beliefs dictate behavior, whether I'm doing drugs or alcohol, or whether I'm numbing out and watching Netflix for 16 hours a day, or I'm sleeping or not sleeping, or whatever it might be. And so one of the first things I do with my clients is I have them identify what's the negative narrative that's going on in your mind. Like, what are the negative things you're telling yourself? And I actually have them write them down. I call it the bully playlist. And because I believe that voice is like a bully, it kind of pushes us around. But it's a time where I ask my clients to get really vulnerable and thorough with this list. And it's amazing the lists that come back. They're a mile long. And it always fascinates me how brutally cruel we are to ourselves. The stuff we say to ourselves. I mean, I always ask, would you ever say this to anybody? They're like, never. I would never in a million years say that to someone. But yet I'm totally comfortable saying it to myself. So to me, the first way to get past these belief systems, we have to identify what is the narrative going on. So let's identify it. Then once the narrative is in place, there it is, right? Because knowledge is power. Then what we do is what I call the champion list, where we flip each negative phrase and we add our name to it. So for instance, if the first one's on there, I'm stupid, then I would flip it and say, I taught him brilliant. Now, this sounds really simple, right? Because it really is, actually. But once I have that champion list, then I do what I call the 3 R's: recognize, refuse, replace. So when a negative thought comes into my mind, let's say the thought comes in, I'm stupid, I'm going to recognize it, and then I'm going to refuse it. Like, that's not me anymore. And then it's, I taught him brilliant. And I'll literally say this out loud. I mean, all the time, my family and friends are, you talking to yourself? I'm like, yeah. Absolutely, I am.
Yeah.
And so, because again, repetition deepens the impression. The more that I say these negative things, the more I'm going to actually believe those things. If that makes sense.
Always, all the time. That internal dialogue will get us every single time. So, and it's the simple things as well. It's not the huge things. Like when they take you into treatment and they get you up at 6 a.m. and you have to go for a run around the block and do 20 press ups, and none of that stuff. It's the smallest things, like the internal dialogue. So we always say to people, if you don't feel good enough, if you don't think you're capable, if you don't think you fit in, we want to apologize to you because somebody's put that there.
Exactly.
Who put that there for you?
I think one, I have to take accountability. I put it there myself at times, but when I was being bullied a little bit when I was younger, I bought into some beliefs because of some of these kids, the way I was treated. Like I said, I was teased a little bit because I was so skinny. Hearing my family even give me a hard time about being so skinny, I just started forming this belief that I ultimately am not good enough and that I look funny. And so that's kind of where it started for me. And what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you guys, I want to share a story that proves this point in such a powerful way.
Please, yeah.
I had a wonderful opportunity about 1.5 years ago to speak at the Utah State Prison. Mm-hmm. And I have never spoken there before. I've spoken at the Salt Lake Youth Detention and other detention centers quite a bit over the years, but never the prison. And Toastmasters invited me to come out, which I felt very honored to do that. Well, when I get there, there's 120 inmates. And I mean, talk about, I'll be honest with you, I was intimidated. I was a little nervous. And I'm sitting in this, it's like this cinder block gymnasium out at the prison. And I'm sitting at the very front and everyone's kind of looking at me there. All the inmates are probably like, who is this dude? And what's he going to tell us, right? So before I get up, they have 3 inmates share their story and they get 5 minutes each and they want me to take 1 hour and 15 minutes. And so these 3 guys get up, they share some amazing, personal stories. They were actually emotional. I got emotional and I'm sitting there going, man, I have to follow these guys. Anyway, so I get up there and I'm speaking in front of these inmates. And I got to be honest with you, I have never seen a more respectful group in my life. They were all sitting up. They were listening. No one was talking to their neighbor. It was amazing. So I share my story with them. I just kind of start from the beginning and I share my story of, the addiction and then how I overcame it and that kind of thing. And then I felt impressed to ask them this question. I said to these 120 inmates, by the show of hands, how many of you are criminals? Every hand goes up, right? They're just like, every hand goes up. And I said, why are you lying to yourselves? And the hands start to slowly go down and they're looking at me funny going, what are you talking about? I said, you guys are all lying to yourselves. And then I asked him, I said, how many of you committed a crime today? Raise your hand. Not one hand goes up. Then I said, how many of you committed a crime yesterday? Raise your hand. Not one hand goes up. And I go, see, you're lying to yourselves. And then I asked him these questions. How many of you have been honest today? It looked like every hand went up. There might have been 1 or 2 that didn't. And then I said, how many of you have done the right thing today when no one was looking? Every hand goes up. I said, how many of you have respected your cellmate today? Every hand goes up. And then I said, how many of you are following the rules today? Every hand goes up. And I go, see, You're lying to yourselves. You label yourself a criminal, but you just told me you're honest, you have integrity, you're respectful, and you're caring. And I'll tell you guys, Rob and Jennifer, had I not been there, I wouldn't have believed it. I got a 3-minute standing ovation. And they just sat there, and I'm not kidding you. I'm crying. They're crying. I had one guy like waving me down going, hey, he goes, can I come give you a hug? They come and give me a hug. And he says, dude, I have never had anyone tell me this before. And then I finished it off with this. I said, what follows I am follows you. I said, so you got to be very careful how you talk to yourselves. Yes, you've been a criminal in the past, but you're not a criminal today. So quit labeling yourself that now. And it was so amazing. And afterwards, they have a therapist that's there 24/7. She came up to me and she said, I am never going to let these inmates ever label themselves criminal ever again. And that's the power of how we talk to ourselves, because labels ultimately are cages. I'm not in prison, but I've had my own thoughts keep me in prison, right?
Always.
Yeah.
We're both growing.
Yeah.
Probably more of this show than any.
I know, right? Powerful stuff. Oh my God. How many people's lives have you changed out that one talk? And you may say 150 because that's how many people's there. No, thousands and thousands of thousands, because that's been repeated so many times, if not hundreds of thousands. That's absolutely amazing. That's the best thing about on this show, Jen, I think.
I know. It's amazing because I do a similar thing with clients where it's like, what is the biggest thing that you fear people will find out about you?
Oh yeah.
Or what do you not want people to know about you? And it's amazing when you get to that level. That's the stuff that is holding us back. That's the stuff that has us reaching out for drugs or alcohol or sex or gambling or whatever the addiction is that stuff that really holds us back. So how do you propose? Like what is the thing? My kids went to 16 different rehabs. They've been to jail 5 or 6 times. I can't keep count anymore. So like, what is the thing that would make a difference in our recovery society today, being recovered? How do we get people from recovering to recovered? Yeah,
great question. And this is the thing that gets my blood boiling more than anything else, because I think on a lot of levels, the addiction recovery world has it wrong. I think just what we said there, I don't always have to be in recovery. I can be recovered. It doesn't mean I'm smart enough to know I'm not going to go to the bar tonight and have a drink. I mean, I think everyone already knows that. But again, we go back to how we label ourselves will follow me the rest of my life. No, I'm recovered. And I don't say that as an arrogant statement. I say that as a humble, confident statement, because it's the absolute truth. I'm recovered. And so it's about changing the perceptions. I mean, most people I deal with, they believe they're powerless. I actually believe you're powerful. Mm-hmm. You believe that, that somehow something's wrong with you. That to me, Jennifer and Rob, that is the number one biggest thing I think hold people back. In my office, you can't see it, it's on the other wall. But when my clients sit down, they read this I have them read it out loud, and it says this: the most delightful surprise in life is to suddenly recognize there's nothing wrong with you. Oh, and when I have a heroin addict reading this on day one, without fail, they'll start to tear up, they start to cry, and they go, and ultimately they don't ultimately believe that yet, which I understand. I go, but that's where we're headed. Yeah, that's where we're headed. Now, here's the other thing I'll add to that. I mean, and there's so much around this. I also think that one of the best, most effective ways to help someone change their life is to show them their true identity. And I think just from the feedback I get from clients who've been to other treatment centers, they don't get this at the treatment center. Like, try this. Try some of this with your clients. Ask them the question, who are you? And they'll be like, I have no idea how to answer that. Because one of the best things is if we love ourselves, it's the most powerful antidote over any unwanted or addictive behaviors, period, right? But we can't love what we don't know. If I can't answer the question, who am I? How can I love that? And I'm not saying I walk around hating myself, but a lot of people do. But if I can't answer that question with conviction, something's wrong. So one of the things I do on day one with my clients is I show them who they really are, where they can actually start answering that question with conviction. So
and that's the difference. That's the difference right there. So the way I put definition of insanity is not being able to see my own truth. That's what I tell our guys. It's not they do the same things over. No, let's talk about addiction. What's the definition of insanity? It's me not being able to see my own truth. I'm not a piece of shit. I'm not this. I'm not that. Well, what's the truth? And I always look at alcoholism and addiction is not a disability. It's a superpower. Because once we're empowered, and the book says that we are empowered empowered people. Yeah. And this is the stuff they're missing out in. You know, I went to the doctors once and I was so ill, Todd. And I said, what's wrong with me? And he said, Rob, you've got food poisoning. Oh my God, it's horrible. I said, what do I do? So he said, take these pills, drink plenty of water. In a couple of days, will have recovered from food poisoning. So I said, well, is there any cure for food poisoning? He said, no. I swear, this is what he said. He said, no, there's no cure for food poisoning, but let me give you a few simple steps to make sure you never have food poisoning again. And he started going, don't reheat frozen food, check the dates on the meat. I have never had food poisoning since. It's the same thing with recovery with the steps. Yeah. You know, it's a frame of mind. If I was born with a self-sabotaging brain. That means that most of my billions of neural pathways are going to self-sabotage at any given time. They're going to do. So we need to change the self-sabotaging for self-care. And not only is what other people tell us, because, you know, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's complete shit when it comes to the addicted brain. Because no matter where I am today or what I do or all the stuff I do, words can hurt me. You know, I went to a talk once. There was 1,000 people there, Todd. I went down in California. They flew me down. I did a talk for 2 hours. I come off stage and they have standing ovation as usual, but the custom there is to come up and shake your hand. So an hour after, he said, you'll be there for an hour. Everyone shakes your hand. 999 people said I was amazing. One person came up and said, you were shit, and walked off. Have a guess who I concentrated on for the next 3 months and nearly relapsed. The one guy. Wow. And I think that's the, you know, if we tell ourselves we've recovered, and you can sling anything behind that to make you feel better from a hopeless state of mind. You've recovered from food poisoning. You've recovered from a common cold. You've recovered from alcoholism. None of them have a cure, but if you're still indulging, then you're always sick. And if I tell myself I'm always sick, I'm going to be sick.
Exactly.
You know, the power of the mind is unbelievable. And this is what people don't understand. And I'm so glad you're on the same wavelength with the treatment centers, because, you know, I think I was the first. I mean, everybody said, Rob, if you say this, you will never work in the industry. And I said, I don't give a shit. They're in and out. They've got rotating doors. They're not in it for the right reasons. These halfway houses are a piece of crap. They're all in it. And it's come out, you know, where they're going on the street and they're giving heroin to guys and paying them to come into treatment for a week, then giving them more heroin so they can throw them out and bring them back in again and still claim the insurance. It's just a big scam. I hate them guys. Guys, Todd Sylvester's on the show. What an amazing show. We're just a quick sponsor, and then we'll be straight back. Bear with us. Hey, welcome back, guys. If you just joined us, my name's Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor, along with Jennifer Lovely. This is Breaking Through Addiction, and today we have Todd Sylvester. So far, we've laughed, we've cried, we've smiled with you, we've agreed with you. I mean, what's the best things that happen to you in recovery, Todd?
Well, I love what you said just a few seconds ago, is that my addiction is my wake-up call to my greatness. It has been my superpower. And I noticed when you said that when I had you on my podcast, Rob, when you said that, I was like, man, I was cheering you on so hard, because I really do believe that adversity or addiction or whatever, it's the wake up call to the greatness that's within us. It's trying to wake us up, because every time we keep struggling with the same thing over and over and over again, it's because we haven't learned the lesson yet. And it's like, we've got to learn the lesson. But once the lesson's been learned, man, wow, we are on fire. I really believe that. I think the most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire. And when I had shifted my life and I got past this addiction, my soul was on fire, and it's still on fire. And that's why helping other people keeps that fire burning. And it's amazing. And so I think the best thing that's ever happened is, I mean, I say this all the time. If I could go back to my addiction and say anything to it, like if I could walk up to it, I would say, thank you. And I'd give my addiction a big hug. You want to know why? Because I'm on your show today. If I knew that I would be on your show 31 years later, hopefully touching someone's soul today that might change their life, I'd be like, man, this is worth it. This is so worth it. So yeah, all of it together has been the greatest thing in my life. It gets, I get to help people just like you guys. I mean, I pinch myself every day going, are you kidding me? This is where I get to do,
I know, it's really true. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are more powerful. And Marianne Williamson says that. And I often thank my children, like, thank you for this addiction, because in so many ways, our lives are our yellow lights, our red lights, and our red lights eventually turn into green lights. It just just takes a long time for us to get there.
Yeah.
So as you go forward, like what not only what does your life look like? How do you bring people from, is it your treatment program, or is it coaching that you do? How do you support people? How do people get a hold of you? How do people work with you?
So I'm currently a counselor at Wasatch Recovery Treatment Center here in Utah. They are fantastic. They believe the same things I believe. They let me be me here. And it's awesome to be able to tell a client who's been to 10 other treatment centers, like, where has this stuff been? Why haven't I heard this before? And so I'm grateful for Wasatch Recovery. I also do life coaching and mentoring. I see anywhere from 20 to 30 clients a week. And then I do my own podcast that I call Belief Cast. So I'm doing that as well. And like Rob, I've written a couple books, and I'm just trying to, touch as many people as I possibly can. And, being on your show here, like, again, it's an honor to do that as well. And so those are the things I'm kind of up to right now.
Awesome.
I like
Thank
it.
you.
So, Todd, go back to your 10-year-old self, if you can, in your mind. What are you telling yourself? What's the 10-year-old boy needs to hear from you if you could go back?
That's a great question, because I get it a lot when I do a Q&A. When I'm done speaking, I will say it's easy. I would go back to my 10-year-old self and say, Todd, there is nothing wrong with you. You're okay. You're ultimately okay. No matter the difficulties you're going through, you're okay. You're gonna be okay. And and so, because again, I bought into that belief that something was wrong with me. So I had this anchor I was carrying behind me, like, well, something's wrong with me. I'm not like anyone else, kind of thing. And so luckily I woke up to the truth of that. But that's what I'd ultimately tell myself, my 10-year-old self. Yeah,
we definitely buy into that that bullshit story, right? Of that there's something is wrong with me. And the fun part about it is that the way that socially, the way that it's constructed out there on the playground, in classrooms, how now social media, is that nobody is talking about this.
Yeah.
No, we are not teaching our kids this. And so we're all like, I'm alone, I'm special, and I'm alone, and nobody else has these feelings, Right. I love inner child work. It's like, it's one of the most powerful places to start with people. So do you do some of that work?
Yes, I do that as well. And it's very powerful, because again, we had it figured out when we were kids. We loved ourselves. We loved everybody. We had faith as big as the universe. And
Mhm.
so it's not going back to be childish. It's going back to be childlike,
Yes.
back to that believing and loving.
Mhm.
Man, when we do that, I mean, there's no reason to go blow up my life with anything,
Right.
because that to me is one of the most powerful things we can do with our clients is that.
Yeah.
I know that today it's a shame, but the reason why the recovery rate is so low is because there's no money in recovery.
Right.
Purdue can't give you a pill. The pharmaceutical companies run the country, so you're done there. So to get real people in, getting them treated properly, and getting them out. I'm not going to say the name of the organization, the 12-step organization, but in 1939, there was a 100% success rate around Akron that dropped to about 92. We're sitting at 3% right now. Why? Well, everything's been watered down. Everything's all about money. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I did a national interview probably, I don't know, 12 months ago, and it was on Purdue and the Oxycontin and the Xanax and stuff like that. And it was on one of their attorneys, I think. And people called me up, Todd, before I went and said, look, I'm not telling you what to do, Rob, but just be careful. I said, be careful of what? Just be careful what you say. You don't want to make any Emmys out there. I blasted them. And I made mincemeat of their attorney. And the following day, they filed for bankruptcy. Now, I'm not saying what I said had any effect,
Right.
but it's just funny how that happened. So, we need to start speaking out, and we need to start.
Hey, real quick, Rob, what I love about you, Rob, is that is you. You speak your truth, and you're not afraid to ruffle feathers, but it's still the truth. And so I'm grateful for guys like you who are out there saying those kind of things, even though it's uncomfortable.
The thing I want to ask you, because I suffer myself, is when we do this, when we stand up, like you got all the guys in the back going, oh, God, you're amazing, Rob, you're great. But I'm on the same level as you because of the terminologies that we use. But it's pretty lonely, Todd. Do you find that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I find that a lot. A lot of therapists will disagree with me and things like that. And, and again, I've learned to just kind of go, you know what? I'm going to still speak my truth, even though it goes against the grain.
Yeah, just real quick. I'm sorry, Jen.
Oh, that's okay.
I was speaking at a treatment center once, and back in the day in Dallas, I had an entourage with me. They used to drive me everywhere, make sure the bookings are right and everything, just get me on stage. And there was this counselor come out, and he knew I was coming. So he must have prepared this, what he thought was an amazing talk, to get everyone on his side before I stepped on the stage. And he made a big mistake. He said that relapse is part of recovery and the solution. So, don't be so hard on yourself. Well, we know the book doesn't say that. It says you must always be hard on yourself. And then they're giving like a bit of a clap, and I stepped on stage. And it's simple as this. Look, guys, what that guy just said is bullshit. If you listen to him, you'll be back here next week. Because that is, and this guy, and people are like, oh, Rob, I was like, no, someone's got to say this.
Someone's got to say it.
And God's giving me all the tools. It's like sometimes in meetings, I'll say it and someone tries to disagree. And they're like, well, if it carries on, Rob, we might throw fists down. I'm like, step outside, dude. You don't think you think I wasn't always a doctor? Step outside. It's giving me all these tools to do what I do today, which still surprises me, but it is amazing.
Yeah,
we're kind of running out of time now.
Yes.
We don't just say this to every guest, but I could spend all day on with you. I don't think 45 minutes is enough time to spend with you, because I want to tell you something, and then I'll hand it over to Jen to say bye to you. But I want to say a few words to you, Ted, because I've been looking forward to this interview because you're a man of my own heart. You're out there doing the real deal. It's a lonely place to be, but you do it. Me and Jen, and I'm voicing for Jen as well, I don't even have to ask her, we want to say thank you for what you do. And thank you for the balls you have to stand up and say it. And thank you for the hundreds of thousands of people that you have already affected with your amazing coaching. And the stuff that you believe in will be passed on from generations to generations. So from me to you, Todd, you're one of my heroes. Wow. You say it as it is. You do as you do. You're very successful. And some of the terminology you come out with it's just beautiful, man. So great having you on the show. All Todd's stuff at the bottom. He's got his website there. We've also click him on Facebook, guys. He's on Facebook. That's an easiest way to communicate with him. Right. Probably send him a message or something. But for now, Todd, I'll say thank you very much, and I'll hand it over to Jen to say bye.
Thank you, Rob. Love you, brother.
ToddSylvesterInspires.com. Definitely check him out. And I also want to say that, like, this is just not just the work for people recovered or wanting to recover. I believe that this is the work for executives out there that still have the, imposter syndrome. This is the real estate.
Right.
This is for everyone. And that's the part of this work that I love so much, is it's not just for addiction or, any of that. I mean, this work needs to be out there in the world for everyone. We all need to be recovered, because we're all recovering and recovered from old belief systems. So
For sure.
Todd, thank you so much for the work that you do in the world. You are powerful, and you are just strength and heart. And I really have enjoyed getting to know you.
Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for everything what you guys do. And I love you guys.
Thank you, man. Guys, stick around. We'll be right after this. Hey guys, welcome back. Dr. Rob here, the Addiction Doctor with Jennifer Lovely. Stick around today, guys, because there's going to be 3 episodes back to back this morning on Facebook. We've just had probably, because I've spoken to loads of people, loads of professionals and famous people, but I've never met anybody that is adamant that this is how it goes and this is the truth. And if you don't want to do it, well, shame on you. And that's what I like, because even some of the big wigs that I've spoke to, some of the rock stars that could change this world, oh no, I'm not getting involved with that. I can't say that. You take some balls to stand up and go, no, this is the key. We've cracked the code for doing this, guys. Why are you fighting it against? Like Todd says, I'm always telling myself I'm recovering. That means I'm always sick with a illness. I'm still recovering from measles. I'm still recovering from chickenpox. It's like, come on, guys. It's what if you tell your mind something often enough, it's going to believe it.
Well, you know what I loved is that you said that that relapse is not part of the process, because do you know that at 16 years old, that's what they said to my son over and over and over again, right? So, 16, 17 rehabs later, here we are. And how many sober homes and, maybe he wouldn't have thrown 4 cars off the side of the 405 freeway in LA, Wow. I don't know. But it's nobody ever told us that as parents.
Exactly. It's a marketing ploy is all it is. Oh, I've relapsed again. Well, go back to that place you went to because it's familiar. Okay. Can we afford it more? Of course we can afford it. We'll use our savings. Don't worry. As long as you get well. How about, fuck me, guys? Are you kidding me? Because if somebody comes back here, first of all, I'm going to refund your money. And secondly, we're going to do you again for nothing, But it's impossible. Once you have the psychic change and spiritual awakening, your DNA changes. You're not the same person. The only way it's going to go back is if you keep lying to yourself.
That's right. That's right.
Guys, I want to talk to you, first of all, we've got to tell you again about Living Recovery Interventions. Recovery begins today. Recovery begins together. Give the gift of recovery. We know Travis, like we said before, is an amazing guy. We're talking about a guy who's been from Xanax seizures to car crashes under 20 miles an hour. If a loved one is in trouble, you need to call Travis, guys, 801-573-4188 or Living Recovery Interventions. Remember, guys, recovery begins today. Recovery begins together. 801-573-4188. It's been an amazing show, Jen.
Yes.
We've got 2 more coming up on Facebook, guys. This is a breaking through addiction morning on Facebook. So tell your friends, tell your wives, tell your ex-husbands. This is the show to listen to.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you shortly, guys. Thanks for being with us. Stick around. We'll be back.